Do we want to do we want to recreate that intro? Was it that good, or do we just
It,
start?
it can't be recreated.
Understandable.
I mean, we could try.
The people at home will just have to live with this knowledge that right now the episode is beginning and they missed it. Hi, welcome. I'm Dylan.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Jordan.
And this is definitely the first time that we're attempting to talk about episode 4 of Loki, and nothing else happened and you didn't miss it.
It's definitely low key.
Oh, that was so much worse, and they don't even get to know why. Okay, so the episode opens with young Sylvie on Asgard, and we see her getting arrested by a younger Ravonna, who at that time is Hunter A23, which is an Easter egg because Avengers issue 23 is the first time Ravonna ever appeared in the comics. Fun fact. And so we see her get arrested as a little girl and then escape right as she's about to go on trial. And then she goes and lives a life on the run and learns how to live in the time stream, jumping around apocalypses and stuff. Do you guys have any thoughts on young Sylvie at all now that we know her backstory?
I definitely found it interesting that she escaped basically right away and, like you said, literally lived her whole life almost. You know, she was a young child when she got taken, just on the run, and then she finally figured out, oh, if I go to these different apocalypse events, then I won't be found.
Yeah, that would be a rough way to grow up.
Yeah.
You could definitely see how that would shape her to be who she is today if she was literally just walking from the end of one world to another her entire life from the time that she was like 8-ish. Well, it's on Asgard. I guess the children are like thousands of years old, so I don't know. But let's just she was 8, pretty much. We'll just ignore those Asgardian rules. And so from there, we see where we ended off last episode with Loki and Sylvie on Lamentis 1 about to get fucking murked by a planet.
A whole ass planet.
Well, a shattered ass planet, but you know, semantics. And we see them have a little conversation, and Loki is clearly becoming very infatuated with himself, much to, I'm sure, Andy's delight after the end of last episode.
Called it.
I was not pleased. I was not pleased. I did not enjoy it. But he falls in love with her, and just the fact that
he falls in love with himself.
Same thing.
He falls in love with herself. Okay.
Yep.
Talk about some narcissism for you.
And so he falls in love with himself, and that's enough to create the biggest branch timeline ever seen somehow, which I take a little bit of issue with because it really defeats the entire apocalypse rule thing that they set up in the previous episodes, that you could do nothing to change it. Love changes it. They were still going to die. Still doesn't make sense.
But Dylan, how fucking offensive is that? That Loki finding love is the biggest game-breaking bug to ever be seen.
It's pretty offensive.
That's so offensive.
Then it gets a lot less offensive when you, again, take in the context that he has fallen in love with himself, more or less.
It's still like... When Mobius is explaining that to him, saying that, you know, he's pure chaos and him loving himself or herself or whatever is the greatest chaos in the universe. That's so fucking mean. That's so mean.
In fairness, Mobius is in that moment trying to be very mean because he is very upset.
True.
He was being very mean.
But so mean.
Well, you got to remember, that can take us to the next part of the summary, that from Mobius's perspective, he believes that Loki was part of a grand scheme to overthrow the TVA from, like, before he thought he was, and was working with this other Loki variant the whole time, and then bombed the sacred timeline and ran through a portal. Because that's what Mobius saw.
Which, you know, that whatever happened with that.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know
what
if you saw the
few...
board, but there's no lines on that board besides when they rescue Loki, or Lokis, from the apocalypse that they were on. That was a straight line with no extra lines anywhere else. I thought they nuked the timeline.
They did, but I guess the TVA is just really good at their job because that's just not a plot point.
In a span of 10 seconds, that entire chain of events is just solved.
Pretty much, yes.
Fucking, like,
I had two issues with the episode. The fact that Loki falling in love with himself somehow broke the timeline, and the fact that the bombing of the timeline was just immediately forgotten and never mentioned again. Those are my two issues with the episode, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
But overall, it was a great episode.
Bullshit.
So I will forgive them. Okay,
Continue.
so Loki is then taken in by Mobius to a time cell, they call it, where he is forced to live a loop of Lady Sif bitch slapping the shit out of him and kneeing him in the nuts over and over and over again, which was awesome.
Super funny.
I knew that she had a cameo in the show. I was told a long time ago that Lady Sif, her first appearance back, was going to be in this as like a small, funny role. But I still was not expecting that at all. When she walked out, I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." Because it's been the last thing she was in was Dark World, right? I think she's been missing since then. So yeah.
Didn't like all his friends die in Dark World or something?
Right, but so she had been exiled before that. She's actually still alive in the main timeline.
Oh.
When Loki takes Odin's place in between Dark World and Ragnarok, he banishes Sif and Heimdall because they figure him out. And so Sif is off in space somewhere, and obviously Heimdall was like hiding in the woods or whatever he was up to.
Hiding in the woodland.
He took his self into the woods with a tent, and he made s'mores.
Yep, and Sif went off on space adventures. And Sif is going to be back in Thor 4, so we'll see more of her. So he's in the time cell, and then, being put in and out of the time cell at various points as Mobius comes back and forth interviewing him. At which point, like you said, Mobius, is taunting him because he's pissed because he thought they were friends and Loki betrayed him, and he's trying to get information out of him about Sylvie, which he does a little bit.
He was like ruthlessly mean to him, though.
Yeah, but he's trying to get information. He's interrogating him. He thinks Loki is a timeline terrorist. That's a capital offense as far as he's concerned. And so eventually it gets to the point where Loki tells him that the TVA is lying to him. Mobius doesn't really believe him, or does he? Because then Mobius has a meeting with Ravonna in her office, and he is kind of poking some questions at her because he's clearly starting to grow in suspicion because C-20 is mysteriously gone, and Loki's saying all this stuff that is sort of making sense. And so
Ravonna with the sketchiest fucking...
Oh, she was so sus.
Oh my god.
She's been sus from early, but she's very sus now.
I guess when your whole career's a lie and you got fucking dumpstered by a 6-year-old, you're probably going to be a little sus about everything, right?
Yeah. And so he steals her 10 pad and watches interrogation footage of C-20 backing up Loki's story that everyone at the TVA is a variant. And so he takes off to go set Loki free and presumably is going to help him overthrow the TVA. It seems like that's the plan at that point. But then they're caught by Ravonna, and he tries to charm his way out of it with his Owen Wilson charm, but that does not stop him from being pruned like a bad branch. And so Mobius is gone forever, and he'll never get to ride his jet ski. So sad.
Yeah, that was a pretty big shock. I wasn't expecting them to prune him.
At that point in the episode, without the context that we obviously get later. Wait, you guys know there was a post-credit scene to the episode, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So without that context...
We could just bust that now.
No, let's save that for the end. I want to save that for the end. But at that point, you think Mobius is dead. At least I definitely thought Mobius was dead because, like, I had no reason to think that he was necessarily going to come back. So that was actually a pretty impactful moment, and I kind of liked that they didn't play it as one. Like, he's just dead, and they just move on. Like, there's no remorse shown at all. It was brutal.
Bye. Like, you're dead, bye.
Our chances of a wow went from possible to 0.
Yep. And so then after that, Ravonna takes Loki and Sylvie to the Golden Elevator to have an audience or like a trial in front of the Timekeepers.
The Golden Shower.
Nope, not what I said. Not even remotely what I said, and also not even remotely what happened.
You're repulsive.
True. So they go through the Golden Elevator, and we meet the Timekeepers. Do you need a dictionary? What? Or like...
No, what'd I say? I didn't say anything.
Okay, right. So they go through the Golden Shower, and they come out in the Timekeepers layer thing, and I was convinced that they were just going to be like statues or something. Like, I thought up front there was just going to be nothing. But we do actually meet 3 Timekeepers, and one of them looks like the Lorax, and I was greatly amused.
Yeah, and they're hard as shit to understand.
They are very hard. They had so much reverb on their voices.
Oh, fuck. If you're going to make them these almighty beings, at least make it possible to understand what they're saying.
You could understand the middle one and a little bit of the Lorax, and the one on the right, I didn't get one word. I'm still not sure what he said.
I got nothing on him.
And so they face the Timekeepers, and the Timekeepers are like, "We're gonna kill you, bitch." And I'm like, "Why did you bring them here just to say that? That doesn't make any goddamn sense."
And Loki said the same thing.
Yep. And I was like, okay, so I guess the writers also don't know why they're here. They just needed to show us the Timekeepers, but that's fine. And then Hunter B-15, I finally learned her name because she deserved it. Hunter B-15 comes busted in and breaks Loki and Sylvie out in the name of time. And then there's a big fight scene.
Fashion, too.
Sorry, what was that?
In a very badass fashion, coming in hot with a sword.
Yeah, it was very cool. And then, unfortunately, the fight scene itself, I thought was, like, unwatchably choppy. Like, I have no clue what happened to that fight scene. They just cut that thing to shreds, and I was like, oh, that's a shame, because this is probably a cool fight, but it is what it is. And at the end of the fight, they take everyone out, and Sylvie throws the sword at the middle Timekeeper's neck and cuts his head off, and I'm like, God damn, what a throw. I don't know how you managed that.
Super unlikely.
It just like floats through his neck. I was like, whatever.
The swords don't fly like that. And second of all, that sword wasn't thick enough to blow somebody's neck off.
Maybe it was a magic sword.
I'm pretty sure it was just iron.
Somebody, Andrew. It was a android.
True.
Doesn't matter. That shouldn't be even harder to.
Maybe the metal was really rusty. They've been there a long time.
Like wet, freezing cold dungeon.
This spooky cave.
And so anyway, we get our reveal that, as expected, the Timekeepers are a lie. They're 3 androids who were built by someone or someones and placed there. And Ravonna doesn't seem surprised at all. Like, when she gets up at the end of that fight, and I guess we could talk about this now. Let's talk about the Timekeepers first. Hold on. Okay, so what were you guys' thoughts of the Timekeepers? Was that, were we pretty much all on the same page expecting that there?
I mean, I didn't think they were going to be robots. I thought they'd at least be people. Maybe people that just, like, planted there, to kind of pretend to be. Mm-hmm. But Jordan called Wizard of Oz.
I called that shit.
You did.
I said they were very Wizard of Oz, and guess what? They were. It was all a damn smoke screen, and it was all fake.
And there was a lot of literal smoke. Yeah, for sure.
There was literal smoke.
Yeah. So that was not too unexpected. I don't think any of us really buy in the TVA propaganda even from the beginning. But then what was unexpected was the fact that right after this, Ravonna gets up and fucking prunes Loki, which was a huge shock, and I loved it because it completely caught me off guard. Because again, at this point, like, we still think he might be fucking dead. Although we knew from like trailer footage that there was a lot more Loki footage to come. So unless they were really fucking with us in the trailers, he was coming back somehow. But it was still a great moment.
Time, you know, time.
It's true.
My jaw was on the floor for a good 5 minutes because I was just in utter shock.
Yeah. And so when Ravonna prunes him, she doesn't seem surprised. Like, she's not thrown off at all that the Timekeepers are androids and their head has just been chopped off. So I maintain that I think she knows exactly what's going on.
Again, when you get clapped by a 10-year-old, you have to go to some length to cover that shit up.
Yeah. And so obviously I think at this point that the fact that Kang is running the TVA is almost inevitable. I just don't see there being any other answer here. Super advanced robots, fucking time travel bullshit, like Ravonna being in charge and in the know. Everything feels very Kang about that reveal.
Yeah. If they're lovers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some shit's going down for sure. I think the end of next episode will probably be a Kang reveal, and then we'll probably have a big fight with him in episode 6, which I'm very excited for.
There are only 6, right?
There are only 6, yeah.
Sad face.
Very sad. And then, so there was a post-credit scene to the episode where we get
What?
What?
The first credit scene.
Yep. Where we get the reveal that Loki, after being pruned, is still alive. And when he looks
on
around...
He's on an island of misfit toys.
Yes. I believe I know what the name of the island of misfit toys is, but I'll get to that in a second. And he wakes up in this weird realm and looks around, and he sees a bunch of other Lokis standing over him, including fucking mega famous actor Richard E. Grant in basically a diaper, and also an alligator. That is confirmed, named Alligator Loki. And
oh, God.
I do not know.
What?
Yeah, you noticed the alligator, right? Kid Loki was holding an alligator.
Yes.
And the alligator had a Loki crown on. And he is an alligator version of Loki.
Yeah, I definitely didn't notice the Loki crown on the alligator.
He's an alligator Loki. I'm hoping very much that he is from the same timeline as Frog Thor, because that would just make sense. And if he isn't, I'm going to be very upset because Throg is one of my favorite characters. And yes, he's called Throg. And yes, he is a frog who is Thor. I will be taking no more questions at this time.
But why?
It's true. I'll put a picture of him on screen in the video right now. True statement.
Why not?
Exactly. That's the right attitude about comics.
At least Alligator Loki's cool, but Throg,
dude,
fucking
Throg
lame.
fucks. You aren't ready. Google Throg
Lame.
after this. No, he's
Lame.
not. He's sick. And so anyway, it's old man Loki, kid Loki, alligator Loki, and like worthy Loki maybe because he has a hammer. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a modified version of Mjolnir or what. Yes, he is black.
Yeah, the hammer, but the hammer didn't look like.
It didn't. I agree, but we are dealing with alternate realities. So
meh.
That's all I call it.
What does Paul Rudd call it in that interview? Kevin or something? He couldn't remember that he was asked. They were doing like Marvel trivia at an interview, and someone asked him what Thor's hammer was called, and he was like, I don't fucking know, Kevin.
What is the name of Thor's hammer?
Mjolnir?
Jonathan?
Only Paul Rudd.
Our Lord and Savior, Paul Rudd.
And so I think where they are in that post-credits is probably Limbo, which is where Kang lives. It's like a realm outside of time. It's probably where the whole TVA is probably within Limbo. And so I think they're like sent to some other, like the other side of space in Limbo or fucking whatever. But I think everything that's ever been pruned has gone there. Like all the timelines that have been pruned, all the bad shit has like fallen into this realm. That's why you see like, I think it's a destroyed Avengers tower in the background on the right-hand side of the screen, probably from a timeline where like they lose the battle in New York or whatever. So I think there's going to be a lot of wild shit there. And yeah.
And that is where all the Spider-Mans are.
Yes, that would be where all the Spider-Mans who have ever been pruned would be. That is correct. So did you guys have any thoughts on that reveal? I assume that was very off-putting for someone who had zero idea that could happen.
Just confused, but happy that he's still, I guess, in the picture.
Yep.
Well, one of my first thoughts was, no, Loki can't die because Tom Hiddleston. And then when he came back, because we're like, oh shit, he's not dead, I was like, thank God Tom Hiddleston from nowhere.
But why he can't die because Tom? Why?
Because it's Tom. He's
like
a British Tom, okay?
He's like
the
other Tom is also British.
Yes, that's the only good Toms are British Toms.
Tom Hiddleston is probably the one character
Tom Petty.
of all the characters that are still in the MCU. I feel like Loki's the one that could just go away without any impact whatsoever.
Well, you would be wrong.
Purely from virtue of him being in an alternate timeline, I suppose that's true. Because it wouldn't affect the main timeline. But we have to think in terms of the multiverse now.
No, Dylan, I'm thinking in terms of me.
That I agree with. I'm with you on that one. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you.
Like, you get rid of Spider-Man, I'm pissed.
Same. Yep.
You get rid of, I guess, Captain America now, Falcon.
True.
I'm pissed.
Yep.
You get rid of Loki.
Actually, you can get rid of Bucky and I'm fine. I don't give a fuck.
No.
I don't give a fuck.
Dare come from my Sebastian Stan.
I don't give a fuck.
Don't you dare come
He's
from
done
him.
enough. He's fixed now. Who cares?
You're talking to one of the biggest Sebastian Stans.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
Out there,
There's
Dylan.
a lot of them. I fight with them on a regular basis. I have some friends online who I torture by saying that I don't give a fuck about Bucky anymore and they can kill him off at any time. It's a good time. Last thing I wanted to say about the episode. Well, this is really getting into prediction territory, but let me find the message. Hold on.
You do you, boo-boo. Okay?
I told Brian and James on June 9th, 2021, quote, if I was to make a bold prediction, I would say the season ends with Loki teaming up with Loki, and Loki to take down the TVA. I was so fucking close. That was Loki. I guess I actually wasn't that. I was 2 off, but that was our Loki, Sylvie, Old Man Loki, and Kid Loki were the 4 Lokis I was referring to. And I missed
the 4 Horsemen.
Black Loki and Alligator Loki. And there's probably more Lokis to come. But I missed my 2 Lokis, but I was very spot on with my prediction because that's absolutely what's coming up, right? I mean, episode 5 is probably going to be Sylvie with Ravonna in the TVA getting the backstory of the TVA and who's behind it and what the real purpose is, while Loki and his team of Lokis gather for battle to go take down the TVA and Kang and that leadership. And then 6 will probably be the final battle, if I had to guess. That would be the format for the last 2.
I would also like to let it be known that I was correct in saying that Mobius was, in fact, a Sea-Doo salesman.
No, absolutely you were not correct at this point. We don't fucking know.
We know.
There were some great memes of the post-credit scene where instead of Loki waking up in limbo, it was Mobius, and it was just like Lightning McQueen character from Night at the Museum. Like all his other movie characters were standing over him instead of alternate Lokis, and I was like, oh, that would have been a good post-credit scene.
I would like one where he wakes up and he's on a beach surrounded by a shit ton of jet skis.
Might be the end of the season. I mean, because he's still alive in limbo somewhere, presumably, if Loki and everyone else are.
But I mean, didn't this is where like this whole time shit is pissing me the fuck off, because he was sent there not 15 minutes before they were sent there, or he was sent, or Loki was sent there.
Use names. What are you saying?
Mobius was sent there 15 minutes before Loki was sent there.
Yep.
How fucking far could this guy get in 15 minutes?
You may land in different places.
Exactly.
That's not how those things work.
I mean, there was a bunch
spawn
of
point.
Yeah.
Spawn point.
What
is
if
the same for everybody?
What if everyone has their own limbo?
Exactly.
What if all the Lokis go to one place, all the Mobiuses go to one place, which his real name, I'm sure, isn't even Mobius. That was probably a TVA cover, but you get my point.
That's just super Jerry Daycare-esque of them to do. And
written by the Rick and Morty writer.
It also makes me...
I think it would make a lot of sense. But who knows? I mean, it might be mixed in. There might just be like territories. Maybe your spawn point is like just closer to yourself. I don't know.
I don't like that.
When Sylvie had the little prune taser stick thing pointed at her, she wanted her to do it. She didn't want to be there anymore.
Correct.
She wanted to be pruned. So I'm very interested to see the backstory because, yeah, sure, if this whole Kang theory and everything, and sure, they're lovers. If they're lovers, why does she want to die so bad?
She doesn't want to die. She knows being pruned will take her somewhere else.
Yep. I think...
She's the one that probably fucking made the things.
I think it's a little bit of everything. If I had to take a guess, the story will go a little bit like... So... It's probably Kang who's behind the TVA. He probably seized control during the chaos of that first multiversal war. Grew like older into an older version of Kang named Immortus, who I expect is the one that we'll actually meet. And his version of Ravonna probably like died in the multiversal war or whatever. So he probably created the sacred timeline to specifically make one universe where Ravonna would survive into like adulthood, plucked her from the timeline, put her in the TVA, fucking nepotism. Even though she fucks up with Sylvie, she gets promoted to be a judge or whatever, which explains how even though she fucked up, she's still at a higher rank now. Of course, that could just happen naturally. One fuck up doesn't mean your career's over. But it would make a lot of sense. He takes her off field duty and puts her in an office to keep her even safer. And so he maintains this timeline specifically just because it's the sacred timeline where his lover lived instead of being killed. And that's the whole point of the sacred timeline and organization. And so, yeah, like Andy said, she was probably happy to be pruned because, one, she wouldn't have had to give any of that information up, and two, she knows she's just going to end up getting taken to limbo or whatever, and Kang will save her because he's not going to let anything happen to her.
Her prune spawn point is just his house.
Exactly, yeah.
So, like, there's no harm, no foul.
Yep.
So, yeah, she's like, prune me, please, because, like, it saves me a shit ton of issue.
In her, I saw something more than just that. Than just knowing that you're going somewhere else. I saw something more in her eyes. I don't know.
Potentially.
An easy out.
I think it's an easy out, but I mean, maybe she's just bored of living forever. Who knows? It's possible.
I'd get bored of that shit.
I wouldn't. Just for the record, Kang, if you would like to arrest me, I'm cool.
You'll be his sugar baby, Dylan?
I'll do it, dude. I'll be Casey in the cafeteria getting my lunch fucked up. I don't give a fuck.
Also, I miss Casey.
Yeah, bring Casey back.
I hope we get him back. That'll be sad if we never see him again. Okay, any other thoughts, predictions, anything?
None from me.
No.
All right. I forgot to cut your outro off early last week, Andy.
Ah. Well,